Hello everybody, Loto for Life here bringing us a brand new video, and today we are doing an archetype analysis on Archfiend. I wanted to do something spooky for Halloween, but all the spooky decks got new support and I want to wait until we are for sure they're not getting anything more. And until I get more used to the new stuff, so we're going with Archfiend and then maybe Vampire and Ghost Trick later on in a month. We shall see. So, Archfiend, I want to clarify that when I'm talking about Archfiend, I'm not going to be covering every single Archfiend card. There's also several Archfiend sub-archetypes, like Red Dragon Archfiend and stuff like that. I am mainly focusing on the two core Archfiend archetypes, that being the chess piece and then the advanced ones that were released later on down in the line. I believe in Light of Judgment. If I remember right, that's the set name. In any case, though, that is what we were talking about. We're not talking about the Summon Skull stuff. We're not talking about the other random Archfiend stuff that has nothing to do with the actual archetype and is just named or thrown in the Archfiend bin because it was called Daemon in Japan, stuff like that. We are not doing those. We are talking about specifically the chess piece and the later on Archfiend archetype that was released. So, I do have to clarify that we are only talking about those. Summon Skull might get his own video later on in the later on, another day, maybe as more of a, oh hey, I want to see this further developed because it's so cool what they're doing with Summon Skull and how he's got one of every type now, but they really need to actually make it an actual archetype. Anyway, I can ramble about that forever. Let's go to move on and start talking about the chess pieces. First and foremost, Vile Pawn Archfiend. He's a level 2 Fiend effect monster with 1200 attack, 200 defense. Oh, and he's an Earth. Not that is really that relevant. The controller of this card pays 500 life points during each of his or her standby phases. This is not optional. When this card is targeted by the effect of a card controlled by your opponent, when resolving the effect, roll a 6-sided die. If the result is 3, negate the effect and destroy the opponent's card. As long as this card remains on the field, your opponent cannot attack any other Archfiend monster card on your side of the field except for Vile Pawn Archfiend. So Vile Pawn is a good introductory for what Archfiends did back in the day, at least in terms of the chess piece guys. They have not aged well whatsoever. Not too great stats. Hey, they have a weird life point cost thing with them. And that's supposed to make up for how they're supposed to be strong for their level. Vile Pawn, he has the highest attack that a level 2 typically has, which is 1200, which isn't even that high considering that Clown Zombie, which is released around the same time, is a normal monster of 1350. So yeah. Also, this thing has, I believe, the same attack as Marauding Captain, and even the similar effect where, oh hey, he forces your opponent to attack him, but he doesn't have the Marauding Captain effect where, oh, on normal summon, special summon a dude from your hand. If he had that, this thing would actually be relevant even today, because Archfiends don't have a ton of, special summoning. So the fact that this doesn't have that, it really just makes this card not good. That being said, though, this does also set up another interesting gimmick with the chess piece Archfiends in that, oh hey, if it's targeted by a card effect that your opponent has, you can roll a 6-sided die, and if you roll a certain number on the die, you negate and destroy that card. This is a really cool, interesting effect, and it gets better with certain Archfiends and all that. So I really hope that they kind of expand on this later on. It's kind of been abandoned in the later Archfiends, but it would be cool to see fleshed out and made better. The life point cost really sucks, and it's on every single chess piece Archfiend, and even some that aren't. So yeah, this card's not good. It hasn't aged well, and neither has most of the chess pieces. So let's move on. Next up is Dark Bishop Archfiend. He's a level 3 water for some reason. 300 attack, 1400 defense. He has a life point cost of 500. And whenever any Archfiend card on your side of the field, any Archfiend monster card on your side of the field is targeted by opponent's card effect, you roll a 6-sided die, and if the result is a 1, 3, or 6, you negate that effect and destroy the card. So what's really cool about Dark Bishop is that not only do you ideally, you'll be able to use the actual Archfiend that's being targeted, but you're able to use it for anybody. So even an Archfiend that doesn't have the dice roll gets the dice roll. And it covers 3 out of the 6 on a standard 6-sided die. That is really, really cool. but it's on easily the weakest Archfiend in terms of stats, and you don't really want to normal or really special summon him. And the protection is still a, well, on a dice roll. So he's not the greatest card, and it's kind of cool, but it's just not good. Again, he hasn't aged well with, like, all the others. Next up, we got Deathstroke Archfiend. He's a light, level 3, Fiend effect monster, 1100 attack, 1800 defense, has the standard life point cost. And whenever he's targeted, if you roll a dice, if it's a 3, negate the effect and destroy it. And then, interesting enough, he's a hand trap. Whenever a Terror King Archfiend on your side of the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon that Terror King Archfiend. I love how it says the Terror King Archfiend instead of that Terror King Archfiend or even one Terror King Archfiend. It's just the Terror King Archfiend, like as if there's implied to be only one Terror King Archfiend. In any case, this card is really kind of cool. It is necessary 2 to 3 of if you're playing a dedicated chess piece build, because Terror King is the boss monster of the chess piece version of Archfiends. But however, you don't play him in the modern builds because, well, Terror King's inclusion in the modern builds is iffy at best. Even though Terror King, I would argue, is the best out of the chess pieces, that's not really saying much compared to the rest. That being said, I really do like the design of this card, and if Terror King ever gets a retrain, and like counts as Terror King, because he did technically get a retrain a while ago, then, well, I don't know, who knows, we'll have to wait and see. Archfiends is one of those archetypes where Konami just kind of randomly gives in support here and there. They are also, by the way, the oldest archetype, if you want to be technical, in that Archfiends have been in the game since Legend of Blue Eyes. And, well, Dark Magician and Blue Eyes have also been there, as well as also Red Eyes and stuff. They didn't really get fully fleshed out till later, but Archfiends have technically been around forever, and were the first full archetype later on down the line, if I remember right. Next up, we have Inferno Queen Archfiend. She's a level 4 fire, 900 attack, 1500 defense, and then has the standard life point cost of 500. And also has the dice roll effect, except because she is the queen, so you, well, get better protection in that if you're a 2 or a 5, then you negate the effect and destroy it, which is pretty cool. And then during each of your, well, each standby phase, not even your standby phase, but even your opponent's, she increases the attack of one Archfiend monster by 1000 attack until the end phase. So, pretty neat attack buff. It's not particularly great. There's a better card in the archetype that does the exact same thing, but it's even better because you don't have to have it on field. Inferno Queen is not good. Like with the other chess pieces, she hasn't aged well, and even back then, like with the other chess pieces, she wasn't good back in the olden days of Yu-Gi-Oh! This card is cool, but that's about all she's got going for her. I love her design, though. I just realized she has, like, bat wings and stuff. I've never noticed that before. Finally, well, not finally, but next up we have arguably the best aged one, and that's Archfiend Soldier. He's a level 4, 1900 attack, 1500 defense, normal monster. If you want to take advantage of Rescue Rabbit or other normal monster support, this card is a 2 to 3 of, just because of all the plays you can do with it. But, however, you don't need to play him in modern Archfiend decks if you don't want to. Next up, we got Shadow Knight Archfiend. He has a level 4 Wind, with probably my favorite design and the most fabulous hair in Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't, like, at me. 2k attack, 1600 defense, has the standard life point cost, except it's 900 life points instead of 500. And when it's targeted by a card effect, it has a standard dice roll and negates if it lands on 3. The downside is that any battle damage it inflicts to your opponent is halved. This is really, really stupid. I get where they were going for it, because a 2k level 4, especially back when it was printed, was considered rather broken. But, like, you already have the life point cost and all that, so I don't know. I don't think it was really necessary to tack on, oh, hey, it does half battle damage, so I don't know. Next up, we got Terror King Archfiend. He's level 4 Dark, 2k attack, 1500 defense, is the boss monster of the original chess piece Archfiends, and has a lot of clauses on him. Most notably, this card cannot be normal summoned or flip summoned unless you have an Archfiend card on your side of the, well, Archfiend monster card on your side of the field. This is really annoying, especially since Archfiends don't have a ton of ways to special summon themselves. So, having that lock, especially back when he came out, was really obnoxious. You basically had to have Shadow Knight and then something that would protect him to then be able to summon Terror King. But out of all the chess pieces, he is the best, and for good reason. So next up, he has a mandatory 800 life point cost. That's a bit annoying, but hey, whatever. He has a standard dice roll effect of, oh, hey, if it's targeted, roll a dice, and if it's a 3 or a 5, negate the effect and destroy the opponent's card. And then here's my favorite part right here. The effects of an effect monster that this card destroyed as a result of battle are negated. So if he runs over like a Dandelion, the Dandelion in the graveyard won't get the effect of special summon the tokens. And if he runs over something that can like special summon itself from the graveyard, like, I don't know, oh god dang it, a Jet Synchron, the Jet Synchron won't be able to special summon itself from the graveyard. So this card has only ever gotten better as it has aged, and is still worth playing as a one-of, in my opinion, in modern builds. Partly because he can be cheesed out in certain ways, and that effect to just negate anything it runs over is really nice. Also, with the new field spell, he's a level 4 of 2500 attack, which is always kind of cool, so yeah, there's that too. That being said, he is the main boss monster of the original chess pieces, so if you are playing a dedicated chess piece build, I do recommend playing 3 of them, only because he is the best one, along with like 3 Shadow Knight and 3 of the Archfiend Soldier and stuff. Finally, we have Imprisoned Queen Archfiend. She's a level 8, I believe, 2600 attack. Level 8. Dark, 2600 attack, 1700 defense. During each of your standby phases, you must pay 1000 life points. This is not optional, or this card is destroyed. During your standby phase, target a level 4 or lower fiend type monster in the field. That target gains 1000 attack until the end phase. Pandemonium, which is the first field spell, must be on the field, and this card must be in your graveyard to activate and resolve this effect. So you don't ever want to summon this card. It doesn't do anything on the field, but on the graveyard, it powers up one of your Archfiends by 1000 every standby phase, which, fun enough, the original Archfiend Queen did as well. So if you have her on the field and this one in the graveyard, you get 2k attack every turn, which is really handy for the original chess piece builds. And then, of course, also, the downside is that she has to be in the graveyard, which actually I would consider a plus because she doesn't do anything on the field except burn your life points more. And also Pandemonium must be on the field, which is annoying, but it's not that hard if you're playing a classic build. Next up for the spell cards, we have Pandemonium. This is the first field spell, and is actually a card that I think has only gotten better with age, but I don't think it really beats the new field spell that came out in Light of Judgment. So, Pandemonium, it's a field spell, obviously. Neither player has to pay life points during the standby phase for Archfiend monsters. This is really important because, obviously, burning through your life points every standby phase, especially with more monsters you get on the field, really sucks. Each time a player's Archfiend monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, except by battle, that player can add one Archfiend monster from their deck to their hand that is a lower level than the destroyed card. So, this card really has only gotten better as time has gone on, because now you got more options for destroying your Archfiends. Like, for instance, you can play a Metal Foes build, pop your Archfiends with the Metal Foes, and then use Pandemonium to get the search. It's not once per turn. It is, however, I don't even think it's once per chain. The downside is that you specifically have to search a lower level Archfiend. You can't search one that is the same level. It has to be one that is a lower level. So if you pop a level 4, your options are 1, 2, and 3. And of course there are no level 1 Archfiends, but there are only level 2 and 3 Archfiends below 4. And so on and so forth. This card is really good, especially as time has gone on. And I feel that if Konami really wanted to, they could really take advantage of this card moving forward. The downside is that I feel like it's just not as good as the new field spell. So in Modern, I don't really recommend playing this in the modern builds of Archfiends, unless you want to do something really gimmicky, like with mixing with Metal Foes or something. But in the classic chess piece Archfiends, if you're dedicating it to that, I said 3 on my slide here, but I honestly lean towards 2, and then like 1 of the new one, because the new one is just that good for Archfiends. Anyways, moving on, we got Checkmate. Not even an Archfiend card, technically, in name, but however, it is an Archfiend card in total, like what it does. Tribute 1 Archfiend monster on your side of the field. During this turn, 1 Terror King Archfiend on your side of the field can attack your opponent's life points directly. It's an inherent neg too. You use the card itself, so that's a -1, and then you gotta tribute another dude, so then that's another minus, so that's -2. All for your 2k beater to be able to attack directly. Which is hilariously counterintuitive to what Terror King wants to do, because his effect negates monsters that he kills in battle, so you don't even want to really make it to where he can't attack one of your opponent's monsters. This card is not good, it's not searchable, don't play it. Moving on, we got Archfiend's Oath. It's a continuous spell card. Once per turn, you can pay 500 life points, then declare 1 card name. Excavate the top card of your deck, and if it is a declared card, add it to your hand, otherwise send it to the graveyard. This card is really cool, but not in Archfiends. It's not good in Archfiends, and I don't recommend it. What this card is really cool for is a deck called Convulsion Control, which one of these days I really want to deck profile. It's such a fun deck. It's gimmicky as all hell and stupid. But there's a card called Convulsions of Nature that while it's on the field, both players have to play with their decks upside down, where like you take it and you literally flip it face up so that like the bottom card is now facing upwards. And so you always know what's on top of your deck and always know what's on top of your opponent's deck. And then, oh hey, you pay 500, call whatever's on the top of your deck, and you get to add it to your hand. Or maybe you want it in the graveyard and you call it wrong, so you purposely send it to the graveyard. Really cool card, allows for a lot of gimmicks. It's not a hard once per turn, so if you have multiple, you can do stuff. And there's other cards that actually work really good with the Convulsions of Nature. So, yeah, maybe look into that, but don't look into it for Archfiends. Next up, we got Falling Down. It's an equipped spell. It's literally Snatch Steal. This is literally Snatch Steal. Activate this card by targeting an opponent's monster. Equip this card to it. Take control of that monster. Destroy this card unless you control an Archfiend card. During each of your opponent's standby phase, you take 800 damage. This is not an Archfiend card in name, otherwise it would just not... I mean, they could word it so like, oh, if you have to control another Archfiend card. But I digress. This card I feel is a mandatory 3 of in Archfiends just because they need as much power as they can, and stealing your opponent's stuff is always good. Snatch Steal is banned for a reason, so yeah, play 3 of it. Next up, we got Archfiend's Roar, another Archfiend card that has aged really, really well. Pay 500 life points and target an Archfiend monster in your graveyard, special on that target. It cannot be tributed. Destroy it during the end phase of this turn. This card is stupid good in Infernities thanks to one of their monsters being an Archfiend, who also happens to be their Stratos. So that's probably where most of you have seen this card in. But it is also really good in Archfiends, and it's only gotten better, especially as Konami has given them more support for cards that destroy themselves and stuff like that. So, really, really handy card. Moving on, we got Battle Scarred, a continuous trap card. Select an Archfiend monster on your side of the field to activate this card. Your opponent also pays the same life points that you pay for the selected monster during the standby phase. If this card is removed from the field, destroy the selected monster. When the selected monster is removed from the field, destroy this card. This card is not good whatsoever. It's an interesting idea, making your opponent pay the life points too. And if it was just a blanket, while this card is on the field, your opponent must pay the same life points that you do for your Archfiends, that would be really, really cool. But no, you select one Archfiend, and if this card is destroyed, so is the Archfiend you selected. I don't like it one bit. Don't play it. It's not good. And that is the original Archfiends. Now, there are other Archfiends that were released in between then and their support later on, as I mentioned. But, however, none of them are particularly noteworthy of, like, you know, paying attention to. None of them are good. None of them do anything for the archetype. They're just named Archfiend because they look like an Archfiend, or because of them being named Archfiend in Japan, which they were actually named Demon or something, I think. If I remember correctly. I know it's a weird naming thing. That's why we have Summon Skull, who on all his new printing say, this card is always treated as an Archfiend card, and so on and so forth. So, moving on, we're going to start talking about the new stuff that came out, like, forever ago. I call it new, but this is actually old. This is the last, like, big wave of support, but I digress, because it's still a good wave of support. Archfiend Heiress is a level 3 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1000 attack and 0 defense. If this card is sent to the graveyard because of a card effect or being destroyed by battle, you can add one Archfiend card from your deck to your hand, except a copy of herself. You can only use this effect once per turn. It is a hard once per turn, but hey, she searches out the entire deck and is just wonderful. You gotta play 3 in it, 3 in any Archfiend build, whether you're playing the modern build or good old chess piece build, because she is just good. Funnily enough, she is a rolling nightmare when she's an Xyz material, mainly because, so, she gets her effect off of being sent to the graveyard by a card effect, but not being sent there as a cost. So if you have her on a rank 3 Xyz, like with Tour Guide or something, you have to make sure that the Xyz detaches for an effect, not for a cost. It's weird. And same thing with, like, if you're running, like, Dark World Dealings, or if you want to send her to graveyard some other way. So you have to be sent to the graveyard by an effect, not a cost. It's very confusing and very annoying. Hashtag Dark World Drama. Moving on, we got a retrain that came out during the Pendulum era. Archfiend Eccentric, level 3 Light Fiend Pendulum effect monster. 800 attack, 1000 defense. So I believe that's almost a switch. She got randomly a bit of a buff, I guess, due to the dress. I don't know. You can target. So her pendulum effect is you can target one other spell trap card on field, destroy both it and this card. You know, use this effect of Archfiend Eccentric once per turn. Then she. Oh, by the way, she has a pendulum skill at 7, which is really good. You can tribute this card and target a monster in the field, destroy it. You're going to use this effect of Archfiend Eccentric once per turn. So the idea is that you put her in the Pendulum Zone, pop a back row, Pendulum Summon her back, pop a monster. It's really good. This card was actually, like, heavily played in meta decks back in the day, like with, like, Pepe and stuff like that, because, oh, hey, you can get 2 pops. Really good. Really good card all around. Doesn't do anything for Archfiend. I don't recommend playing her in Archfiend unless we get another Archfiend Pendulum monster, which we don't have another one. It drives me nuts that we still don't have a second Archfiend Pendulum monster, and this thing has been the only one for, like, ever now. So, yeah. Moving on, we got Archfiend Cavalry, a level 4, 1900 attack, 0 defense, Dark Fiend monster. If this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Archfiend monster in your graveyard, except Archfiend Cavalry, special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. This card is really good. With the new field spell, he's a 2400 level 4, and he special summons any Archfiend whenever he's destroyed by a card effect, of which you have multiple ways of taking advantage of. So, very good card. Definitely play 3 of it in modern Archfiends, and I would argue even in the old Archfiend builds with the chess pieces and stuff, because good lord, you don't have a lot of good options there. It just dawned on me he has a freaking mohawk too. Like, what? Oh boy. Next up is Archfiend Cavalry. I'm butchering that. L's and R's do not work correctly with me. It's a level 4, 1900 attack, 0 defense, Dark Fiend effect monster. With a pretty simple effect. If this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target an Archfiend monster in your graveyard, except another copy of it, and special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. This card is really good, and more than makes up for the lack of a good normal summon in the Archetype. Well, I can't say that. This is still not a particularly good normal summon, but in a slow-paced beatdown deck, it's not horrible, especially if the field spell out a new one, a good one. That makes this thing a 2400 normal summon that can run over most anything. It's pretty good all around. Very beefy, and of course also triggers to special summon any of your dudes anytime it's destroyed by a card effect, which of course includes your own. Which of course also means if you have Pandemonium out and you pop it with a Metal Foes, you're going to get a search and a special summon. It's pretty cool. It does suck that it prevents the monster that you summon from being able to attack at all. But, however, a really nifty combo with this card is to special summon it with Archfiend's Aurora during the end phase. Archfiend's Aurora will nuke the Cavalry, and then you use Cavalry effect to bring back like a First Sword of Horror or something, who is the real boss monster of the Archetype, who we will get to here shortly. That all being said, this card is a mandatory 3 of in most Archfiend builds, whether or not you're playing the chess pieces or not. I think he's an absolute necessity. He's also got a freaking mohawk, which is just cool as all hell. So yeah, very good card play, 3 of them. He is very good. just play 3. Archfiends need all this love they can get. Moving on, we got Archfiend Giant. I really don't want to talk about this card, but I believe this is a TCG exclusive, and it was for the Archfiends, and it's not good. This thing is a level 6 with 2400 attack, 1600 defense. And if this face-up card on the field would be destroyed by a card effect, you can pay 500 life points instead. This effect can only be used once while this card is face-up on the field. If this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can spell summon 1 Archfiend monster from your hand. So he's kind of like a reverse Cavalry. The downside is that he has a weird and random, oh, hey, you can save him once, and then if he does die, he floats in another dude from your hand. And it can be helpful. I'm not going to lie. And especially when you combo it with some other stuff, and like maybe you got a First Lord or something in your hand, and you want to get him on the field, and you don't want to normal summon him. He's not horrible to like cheese out and then pop with something. But this card isn't necessary at all, and it doesn't gel well with the deck. My biggest issue, honestly, is that he doesn't have a way of being able to special summon it or normal summon it without tributing or anything, which means you're entirely relying on other cards to special summon it, of which the Archetype really only has 2 if you don't count Cavalry. And even then, like, do you really want to summon this thing when you could summon a First Lord? Like, why? There are times, of course, where I'm sure summoning a Giant instead would be good. But overall, I just haven't seen a point in playing this card. But yeah, so that's just my opinion. I don't know, maybe somebody in the comments will prove me wrong. Somebody always does in one of these videos. Like every single one of these videos, somebody's got to poke a hole somewhere in something I say, and I kind of love it. I'm not perfect. I get things wrong, so hey, poke holes all you want. Boy, it just dawned on me he kind of looks like Goliath from freaking Gargoyles. I'm not the only one who sees that now, am I? Oh, jeez. Moving on, we got Archfiend Commander. He's kind of like a Summon Skull retrain, but kind of not. I mean, at least he looks like Summon Skull to me. I don't know. Anyways, he's a level 6 Dark Fiend effect monster, 2500 attack, 1200 defense, which I believe is Summon Skull's stat line. I'm not sure. Anyways, he's a Fiend effect monster, and you can use both of its effects in a turn. So, if you control an Archfiend card, you can spell summon this card from your hand, but it cannot attack this turn. You can only spell summon Archfiend Commander once per turn this way. When spell summon this way, target 1 Archfiend card you control, destroy that target. When this card is tribute summoned, you can target 1 level 6 Archfiend monster in your graveyard, spell summon that target, and face up defense position. This is a really cool card all around. Not only does it have an inherent special summoning clause, but also it has that destruction effect, which is really good because you can, of course, pop Cavalry or Giant and get their floating effects off. You can also pop other stuff, and hey, if you pop something, you have Pandemonium out, you're going to get a search, which is really good as well. And then if you, for some reason, want to tribute summon it instead, like, for instance, let's say you have another commander in your graveyard, or you have a Giant in your graveyard, you can tribute summon it, and then you can spell summon a level 6 Archfiend from your graveyard. Now, the downside is that before, up until recently, there really wasn't any good, I mean, like, dedicated Archfiend monsters, but they did get a rank 6 that is actually part of the Summon Skull archetype, which is kind of cool. And of course, you can make some other rank 6 plays, like, I don't know, going into Beatrice or something like that. Anyways, this card is a mandatory 3 of in the deck. You got to be careful about when you use it, because if you aren't careful, you might have to pop him or something else, because that destruction on summon is mandatory, and you got to remember that. It is mandatory. It is not optional. So if you do it at the wrong time, you can get screwed over. Lord knows I have done that. Moving on, we got Archfiend Empress, who was the first, like, kind of boss monster, or at least during between the chess piece and this wave of support. But since she gels well, more of this stuff, I'm putting her here. She is a level 8, 2900 attack, 2100 defense, or at least in Star Strike Blast. Good lord. Dark Fiend effect monster. And has the following effects. If exactly one face-up Dark Fiend monster on the field, except this card will be destroyed, you can remove from play 1 Dark Fiend monster from your graveyard instead. When this card is destroyed and sent from the field to graveyard, you can select 1 level 6 or higher Dark Fiend type monster in your graveyard and accept a copy of herself and special summon it. This card is actually relatively decent overall. The protection is really nice and can protect your monster from being destroyed by battle or card effect, which you mainly want to use on the First Lord, who is your boss monster. Now, that being said, though, Empress is not particularly great as well. Like with Giant, she has no inherent way of special summoning, so you have to get her on the field through some other means. Luckily, she's level 8 like First Lord, and has an actually really good on-field effect, so I think she's worth playing as a one-of overall. And of course with the field spell outs, well, the new one, she's 3400, which is another easy way of just OTKing your opponent. Overall, very good card, gives some protection to the deck, which is something the deck does not have a lot of, unfortunately. Moving on to Archfiend Emperor, the First Lord of Horror. This is your main boss monster of the deck, and I love his design. This thing looks so cool. And he looks old and decrepit and everything, because of course he's the First Lord of Horror. Of course he's old as all hell. And if you actually look, he's got a similar design to Commander, so maybe Commander's a younger one. I don't know. Anyways, he's a level 8 Dark Fiend effect monster, 3k attack, 2k defense, and just for sheer magnitude of how big he is, that is the Archfiend that you can discard to search out the field spell, who I just realized I forgot to put into this video. Whoops. Oh well, it's not really that relevant. And then also, I believe that is Archfiend Knight. You can, oh boy, 3k attack, 2k defense. You can normal summon this card without attributing, but its original attack and defense become halved if summoned this way. This card is destroyed during the end phase. You cannot special summon any monsters except for Fiend monsters. That's very annoying and comes up a lot whenever you're playing this card, because he is very helpful. Once per turn, you can banish one Archfiend card from your hand or graveyard and target a card on the field, destroy it. Overall, this card is the main boss monster, the Archetype. And just being able to be plopped on the field for free, granted with half attack and defense, and also nukes himself at the end phase. But however, the main thing is that you're mainly summoning him that way to be able to special summon another one, or an Empress off of the second field spell, which we'll be talking about here in a minute. And then of course also you have his effect where you can banish an Archfiend card from your hand or graveyard to pop a card on the field. Very good card all around, definite mandatory 3-of. I really wish he would special summon himself. It's a normal summoning, so you could actually combo wombo with him a bit more, but I digress. Fun fact, this card got compared heavily to High Priestess of Prophecy, because they do share very similar effects in terms of summoning conditions and effects in terms of popping. Like, literally, they both have a free way of plopping themselves on the board, and they both banish a card from their respective archetypes to pop a card. I think it's just funny how Konami decided to basically make a worse version of High Priestess for this archetype. And it also still actually ends up working pretty well in Archetype, thanks to the field spell, which we will be talking about next. Master King Archfiend is the one and only dedicated Archfiend extract monster that's not part of another archetype. Master King Archfiend is a Link 2 that needs 2 Fiend type monsters to go into, and is a 2k attack beefy beatstick. This card, I am so mixed on. So, once per turn during your standby phase, pay 500 life points or destroy this card. Once per chain, if you pay life points, except for during this damage step, you can send one Fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard with attack or defense equal to the amount paid. Once per chain, if a Fiend monster is sent from the to your graveyard in any way whatsoever, except during the damage step, you can roll a 6-sided die and apply this effect based on one of those apply this effect on one of those monsters based on the result. Woo boy, very weird wording. Anyways, the effect you can apply, if it's a 1, you add that monster you sent to the graveyard to the hand. If it's a 2, 3, 4, or 5, you shuffle it back into the deck. Or if it's a 6, you can special summon it. So this card came out in one of the Link Friends packs, I don't remember which, and was basically made for chess piece Archfiends. This is chess piece Archfiend support through and through. Personally speaking, I would have given Archfiends a rank 8 or a rank 6, like a dedicated one, not a Summon Skull one, but I digress. Master King is okay. He's not particularly great, and the biggest downside is that you can't really trigger his effect very easily. So he mandatories that you pay 500 life points, just like the Odin, the chess piece ones. And the chess piece guys all make you pay 500 or 900. And I think there's one that makes you pay 800, or am I maybe making that mistake of getting it mixed up with the Snatch deal again? But I digress. You're paying life points in, generally speaking, 500 or 900. And there's not a lot of good targets for those. Not a lot at all, especially in Archfiends. Ideally, you'd want to pay 1,000 life points so that you can send Archfiend Heiress, so that an Heiress could get her effect Search. That would be the ideal route, and if Master King required you to pay 1,000 life points, I'd actually be cool with that, because then every standby phase, you pay a stack, you send Heiress, then you roll a dice, and then you get to do one of the 3 things. Ideally, you don't do that, so then you can, get her Search effect off. Your opponent kills a monster in battle or sends something to graveyard, then you use this effect that triggers whenever a fiend is sent to graveyard. Then you get to roll a 6-sided dice and either add to hand, shuffle to deck, or special summon. That would be the ideal route. But no, they made him pay 500, and that's just not particularly good. He's okay in other fiend-type archetypes, but in Archfiend itself, until they get some better support later on, hopefully sooner maybe than later, it's an okay one of just for having the option, but it's not necessary. Finally, let's talk about the field spell I've been talking about a lot, Archfiend Pal Labyrinth. It's a field spell, obviously. All fiend-type monsters you control gain 500 attack. Very, very helpful, especially for a beatdown deck. You can target one Archfiend monster you control, banish one other fiend-type monster you control, and if you do, special summon from your hand, deck, or graveyard one Archfiend monster at the same level as the targeted monster. You can use this effect of Archfiend Pal Labyrinth once per turn. Pal Labyrinth makes this deck so much better, because ideally you want to, normal summon Commander, effect of, normal summon Cavalry, spell summon Commander, Commander effect, pop Cavalry, Cavalry effect, spell summon First Sword of Horror or Empress from your graveyard, effect of Pal Labyrinth, targeting the First Sword of Horror or the Empress, target Commander, banish Commander, spell summon another Emperor or Empress from your deck. Then you have 2 3k beaters that are both level 8, so you can hopefully make a rank 8 or a link 2 or something and proceed from there. This card makes the deck so much faster and gives the deck a lot more special summoning ability. And also, of course, that 500 attack buff. It's not a lot in a lot of other decks, but in a deck where you already got monsters with abnormally high attack power, that makes things ridiculous. You get like Cavalry, who becomes a 2400 normal summon whenever this thing's on the field. You get freaking Terracane, who becomes a 2500 level 4. You get Archfiend Emperor, who becomes 3500. It doesn't take a lot of damage to go for game with this deck, thanks to the field spell. That little bit just stacks on, and you're able to punch over a lot of extra monsters that people put a lot of effort into, thanks to this card. So, really, personally, I find Pal Labyrinth to be the better of the 2 field spells. I think Pandemonium still has a place in the deck, especially if they do lean more into destruction, like self-destruction later on with more support. But as it stands, I feel like Pal Labyrinth is the better of the 2 for what the deck wants to do moving forward, and as such, I say play 3 of this card. Maybe you could do 2 Pal Labyrinth and 1 Pandemonium at some point or another, but however, I do feel like the discard is just a bit better thanks to spell summoning. You're also able to combo it with other cards like Escape from the Dark Dimension in order to spell summon a dude that you banished, or something like you banished off of First Lord. It's really good all around, and I do like it. Moving on to the most recent wave of support, Call of the Archfiend. This is really recent. Extreme, no, not Extreme Force. What is it called again? I can't remember. Anyways, a set with Access Code Talker on the front, I think. It had a Code Talker on the front, that much I remember. Anyways, Call of the Archfiend is a continuous trap card that says you can target a level 5 or higher Fiend-type monster in graveyard, discard a Fiend monster, and if you do, spell summon the targeted monster. You only use this effect once per turn. So this is a hard once per turn on this card, but however, having another way to spell summon a dude from your graveyard is really, really good, and is pretty helpful. Also, you get another dude to discard and everything. It's just a good card all around. I do think it's a good 1 to 2 of. It's definitely not a 3 of, especially with the hard once per turn on it, and with the hefty discard cost. But hey, getting to bring back your big beefy boss monsters for free, well, not free, but getting to bring them back for you know, not having to lose their ability to attack is really good. And also, we get this really cool shot of Archfiend Emperor just doing something to this poor three-eyed dude. I don't know who he is, but he kind of looks like a Skull Servant. I don't know who this guy is, but he's getting screwed. Finally, let's talk about my final thoughts on Archfiends. That is everything minus the level 4 that I forgot all about. He's the discard searcher for Pandemonium. It doesn't change anything for the deck. I am such an idiot, but I don't have the time to go back and change things. Anyways, final thoughts. The deck is way too slow for Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! As much as I love Archfiends, and I nearly topped a regional with them back when Light of Judgment came out, back when like Wave came out, the game has changed drastically from then. You know, you're talking about freaking Zexal era. Back then, like, Snatch doing a Megalo was like the coolest thing ever with freaking falling down. This deck is not able to compete at that same level anymore. Not even close. Not even in locals. Due to just how fast things have gotten. This deck has not gotten any large amount of support since Light of Judgment. Okay? I want to put that in perspective. I think that was 2015. Maybe 2014. It was a set with Utopia Ray Victory on it. I think that was also the set that Bujins came out in. Yeah, that was the set that Bujins came out in. And Star Eater. I bought way too much of that set. This deck has not gotten any support since then. That is forever ago. And it sucks too, because this deck could really, it's almost there. It just needs some starters, some extenders, maybe more destruction. I really want them to lean more towards that, because I think the destroying themselves to do stuff and load up the graveyard for First Sword of Horror to be able to, like, basically shotgun your opponent's field to destruction like freaking Dark Arm Dragon would back in the old day. I think that would be the better route to go. If Konami wants to go the route of the chess pieces, I could see that working too, if maybe to make it so that they're all hand traps and do something, like you can discard them, roll a dice, do something. I don't know, kind of like branch off of what that headpiece guy, the Deathstroke Archfiend, does. That could really help out. The deck also needs more recursion, most notably from the Banish, because they banish a lot, and they don't really do anything with the Banish zone after they get banished. So I would like to see that. As I mentioned before, I'd love to see more boss monsters, most notably an Extract boss monster, a rank 8 or an Xyz of any kind whatsoever, rank 8, rank 6. Maybe branch into Lynx as well, give us a better thing than Master King. Master King's not good. And I did mention this, but I would like to see retreats of the chess arches, just for nostalgia's sake, and also because I love their artwork. They've got a really nice flow to them that makes them feel very heavy metal, if you know what I mean. Anyways, that is it for Archfiends. Here is my current deck list of the deck. I'm kind of changing some things around and trying some things out. I got a Archfiend Soldier kind of thing going on with the Rescue Rabbits, which I'm playing 2 of, so I can get Archfiend Soldier, so I can hopefully make some plays. Ideally, you would then summon your 2 soldiers, activate Power Labyrinth, banish 1, get out of Terror King, or get out of Cavalry, and then proceed to go on from there. Or you can make some link plays if you want, whichever way you want to go. Xyz route as well, and this is just a really bare minimum, hey, kind of figure this out. I have been playing this deck quite a bit. The extra deck ain't... The extra deck does not matter whatsoever, really, other than the rank 3s, of which Leviair is, like, really, really good, because then you can bring back your stuff that gets banished. Dante is really handy. Fortune Tune's a fun one. I really like Fortune Tune for defense-oriented Xyz. It can't be targeted or disturbed by card... Well, I think it can be disturbed by card effects, but it can't be targeted by card effects, and if it would die, it can detach material, which it's not a cost, so it does trigger Heiress, which is hilarious. And then, of course, you got your standard link, like, plays and everything. I do have the Archfiend rank 6, which is basically a Silent Skull thing in here, just for kind of, like, hey, it's there. Because, of course, First Sword of Horror does lock you into Fiends. But that's about it. Double trading, because you don't really care if these guys get in the graveyard. You almost prefer it, because then you can bring them back with Call of the Archfiend or Cavalry, and then all of that, and of course Archfiend Roar as well. But you don't really want to bring them off of Archfiend Roar, you want to bring Cavalry off of Archfiend Roar. And that is everything with Archfiends. Overall, I like this deck a lot. It means a lot to me, being one of the decks I've had most competitive success with back in the day. Granted, that was also forever ago. My god, I feel old. I was still in high school. Oh my god. Age. Anyways, that is everything, and I do want to finish this off with a little bit of a moving forward note here. I know uploads have been basically non-existent for the past month or so. Okay, guys, my new job. I know I mentioned it like forever ago, but I got a new job, and I thought I'd have more free time, but I'm actually having less. I actually had to record this video in multiple days and sessions and stuff, and it sucks. I don't have a lot of free time anymore. I really don't. I barely get any time to do anything that's not work related, and I'm as much as I love YouTube, I don't get a lot of free time. That being said, I have a few goals. I want to start doing this more again, especially since I have some obligations. I did promise a particular person that I would do a video review of something that he wanted me to do, so that is coming out eventually on my chaotic channel. And then also, I have plenty of ideas. I still love doing YouTube, and I still have a ton of ideas for stuff that I want to upload and do on here. So I have a goal of 3 videos a week, 1 on each of my channels. You can find the channel links down below and everything, and of course on my channel description. I do have 3 channels. The main one, which you're on right now, Yu-Gi-Oh! I do also have Low Tier Life, which is all about manga, anime, figures, and my other hobbies. And of course Low Tier for Life Chaotic, which is all about chaotic. And I want to be able to get back into the swing of things. It's going to take some time. I doubt I'm going to make the 3 videos a week thing, because I actually intended for this video to come out a week ago. But I was unable to get it done thanks to work. So I do have every intention of trying to get into the swing of things. It's just trying to find that work-life balance that's been very hard. The nice thing is I do actually have weekends off, but I've been very busy on weekends because now I have family and stuff, and that's the only time I get to hang out with friends. But I do intend on trying to do the occasional live stream on weekends. They're going to be like guerrilla live streams. I'm not going to plan them out. I'm not going to say a week in advance, hey, I'm doing a live stream on this date and everything. It's not going to be possible. I can't make that obligation. So I'm going to just be like, hey, live stream in an hour for an hour or something, you know, because I do enjoy live streaming, and I know you guys do it too. Like you enjoy it too. So I got to get back in the swing of things. Speaking of friends, you guys are going to get to see some familiar faces back on YouTube soon. For my longtime fans who have been here for like ever. I don't think many of you remember him, but I'll keep it as a surprise for now, but you guys will be able to start seeing some other interesting things coming up, and whenever like that happens, you guys might see more than like 3 videos a week on this channel, depending on how hard I want to go with the editing. I don't know. Editing's fun for me, but at the same time it's time consuming, so we shall see. We shall see. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Rate, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am sorry this has taken so long to come out, and you know, I just appreciate you guys for sticking around. You know, YouTube kicks people for not really doing too well in the algorithm, and a big part of that is not uploading. So hey, rate, comment, subscribe, and share, because this video is going to get buried and ignored by YouTube. I almost said Konami, because Konami, but like YouTube is almost as bad, probably worse than Konami in terms of some circumstances. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great comment, subscribe, peace out, see y'all later, bye. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider rating, commenting, and subscribing. Sharing the video helps as well. If you especially really like it, please do consider being a channel member. Every little bit helps out. And hey, also why not check me out on my other social media pages. Thank you, and have a great day.